decision that shortly after the election I would leave. And then one day I went into the Oval Office and explained the president, but I just felt that I had no choice. He was very understanding about it.
That's Robert Reich. He was the U.S. Secretary of Labor during President Clinton's first term. He helped put in place the Family and Medical Leave Act. He raised the minimum wage. On his watch, unemployment fell below 5%, the lowest it had been in 20 years. It's hard to say how effective any one person in Washington really is, but Time magazine named Reich one of the 10 best cabinet members of the 20th century. And then, Reich quit.
But then the question for me was, well, how do I alert my employees and the segment of the public that felt that they were relying on me in some way? How did I handle it publicly? It's a delicate matter. I decided that I would write an op-ed in the New York Times, my personal family leave act. I had been responsible for implementing the Family and Medical Leave Act that actually was passed years before, and it seemed to me important to say to men as well as women that it is okay to leave your job.
Here, as Reich wrote it, was his dilemma. Quote, you love your job, and you love your family, and you desperately want more of both. His wife and two teenage sons were back in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and he was, well, he could have been anywhere.
No, the other cabinet officers go to wonderful locations around the world, Paris and London and Shanghai and elsewhere. Secretary of Labor goes to Toledo, Ohio, or maybe St. Louis. It's really a great day.
The funny thing is, no one believed Reich quit because he actually wanted to spend more time with his family. That's what CEOs say when they're booted. But people, especially male people, don't quit White House jobs to do that. But Reich really meant it. As he saw it, there was a big upside to quitting.
It was exactly the right move. I think if I had not done it, I would have regretted it all my life. I wouldn't have spent any time. I mean, the boys then would have gone off to college, off to their careers. I just wouldn't have those years. At the same time, I think I was fooling myself a little bit in thinking that young teenage boys would drop everything when their father came home and say, oh, Dad, it's great to have you, let's play. No, they were very happy to have me there, but then they tail around after them a little bit with my metaphoric tail between my legs and try to...
Robert Reich quit what was, for him, a dream job, running the Department of Labor. Tell me the truth. When you were a kid, did you dream of running the Department of Labor? Or maybe you had a dream that sounded more like this.
You get a phone call that says, how's it going to be the next member of your staff? Some money to pay for school, and went straight to Marty's at 18.
That's Justin Humphries. Not long ago, he was considered one of the best young baseball players in the country, a big power hitter from a suburb of Houston. Getting drafted by the hometown Astros was especially sweet, and they threw in some money for education, related. But Humphries wasn't thinking about that. He had one goal. So, he went off to the Astros minor league team in Martinsville, Virginia, and then more minor league teams in Kentucky, Louisiana, Florida, New Jersey, but not, you may have noticed, Houston. He hit pretty well, but he hurt his wrist, then his knee, and in 2009, at the ripe age of 27, Humphries quit baseball. Now, only 11% of the kids who get drafted each year make the majors, but probably close to 100% of them stay there. Humphries, even before he quit for good, started back in school at a junior college in Texas. He wound up transferring to Columbia University, where he took a sociology course with a professor named Sudhir Venkatesh. You may recognize that name. We wrote about his exploits in Freakonomics. As a grad student in Chicago, Venkatesh embedded himself with a crack gang and got access to their financial records. We wrote about him in Super Freakonomics, too. He did an extensive survey of street prostitutes. Guess what Venkatesh studied after that? I'm interested in quitting for a number of reasons, not the least of which is that it's hard for me, but the older you get, especially when you start identifying yourself with a job. All right, so you actually looked in a fairly systematic, empirical way at baseball players. So I actually never thought I would be interested in looking at baseball from the standpoint of a job. And one of my students, Justin Humphries, used to play baseball for the Houston Astros organization, and he was in my class. So I was sitting there in this classroom. I started thinking about all the issues that I had seen in independent baseball and affiliated baseball. Guys who didn't check the check, struggling with whether they should go back to school, family life, issues at home. And I thought if I could use some of the things that we were learning in class, talk to some of these guys, and find out whether the stories and things that I was seeing and hearing was reflected in numbers. We followed a sample of the draft class of 2001. And so that's about, 10 years, and so we thought that would help us understand what happens to these folks. Now, this doesn't include the immigrants because they came into the country and they didn't go through the draft to play ball. These are just the people who were out of high school or who were in college and they were drafted by a major league team. I think one of the most curious things that we find is how much tenure matters. So if you take two people who grew up in the same circumstances, let's say one played baseball and one didn't, the person who plays baseball is making about 40% less on average 10 years after they enter the game than the person who decides not to play baseball and who just wanted a regular career. So, Sigurd, you went down to Camden not long ago, right, to talk to some of the ball players? So Camden, I believe, is in the Atlantic League, which is an independent league, meaning there's no direct path to a big league team. A lot of guys on a team like this, they've already been through the minor leagues and either topped out in talent or aged out, right? Most of the guys in the Camden River Sharks are probably in their late 20s, and so they've actually had careers in the minor league system, and it didn't happen for them, and so they come into the Atlantic League thinking that they're still going to be able to make it. You sort of want to be able to tell them, hey, do you know that you're really, really unlikely that you're going to make it? And the fact is that we know that very few people around them are telling them. So they're not really prepared to talk about it. It's tough. Particularly this guy Noah Hall was a really, really interesting person because he actually was thinking that this may be the end. Try to happen inside. I'm still going to, prepare and everything the same way I would regardless. I could get picked up, and if I went off wherever I went, it could happen. Some guys just see the writing on the wall, and I just try to ignore the writing on the wall. I don't know. I want to look back and say that I didn't give it everything I could, and I think I could still play in every side. And the reason I think Noah's from Northern California, and he was raised by his mom, and Noah has a wife, Kelly, and they have a lovely son, Isaiah. And Kelly and Isaiah follow Noah around to whatever team he ends up playing for that season. And let me tell you, he's played for a lot of teams over the years. After Noah's practice, I had a chance to go out to dinner with the Hall family and get to know them a little bit.
I am the one who's there, like when he thought we have a good game, or when he has a bad game. Like I'm the one who, I go through that kind of emotional roller coaster with him.
So one of the strange things we found out when we spoke to baseball players is that they have their own language for quitting. They don't actually quit. They just don't call it that. They don't call it quitting. They don't call it giving up. But they say, I'm just going to shut it down for a while.
Yeah, what does it mean to be a quitter as opposed to, man, I'm going to shut her down? It's the same thing. It just sounds better when I'm just shutting her down. Just like, you're not really doing it, but yeah, you are. Have you ever wanted to tell, but you had to hold yourself back?
To shut it down? All the time.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. All the time. Especially in the last couple of years. We've actually fought over it. Because it's so hard. Like, I understand his stuff. Like, being his wife and trying to be supportive, I understand it's got to be really hard because I do know how much he loves the game.
Well, that's particularly poignant in my view because, baseball is one of those rare sports that because it doesn't have a clock, no game is ever... Theoretically, will come back and win. But we have to do baseball. Never. Quitting is not an option. Yeah, quitting is not an option, but, Justin is trying to make it easier for the players to quit and to make it. Working on building an organization that helps baseball to get out of baseball when the time is right, and to join that world that the rest of us live in. Well, when you're
had no degree. I had less than an associate's degree at that point. So at some point you tell yourself, I can't do this for myself. I can't do this for my parents. And I can't continue when I know there's untapped potential to do other things.
So Justin Humphreys stared right into the dark part of his sunk cost all those years he spent pursuing his dreams. And then he made the big quit. We'll hear more from Severe Benefits later in the show. Not long ago, he quit his job at Columbia and went to work at Facebook. In a moment, we'll tell you what my number-crunching economics philosopher Steve Levitt has in common with a bunch of ab-crunching You see that I see You see me that I see Either I love, either mama Let's follow the wall You like potato and I like potato Freakonomics Radio is supported by Harry's, an online laser company offering German-engineered blades and other shaving products. Learn more about Harry's and its products at harrys.com. Freakonomics Radio is supported by Enterprise Florida, working to promote Florida as a premier business destination for companies interested in relocation or expansion. More information at floridathefutureishere.com.
GBB Spring Fund Drive begins soon, and with program costs on the rise and federal funding in question, your support now is so important. Please go to gbb.org to donate, and you'll also enter to win a St. Simons Island getaway for two, including a 3-night oceanfront stay at the Guinea Prince Beach and Golf Resort. Relax on the beach, enjoy sumptuous meals, or play golf. Your support will also encourage others to join you. gbb.org and thanks.
Hi everybody, I'm Paula Addison. And I'm Arjuni. We'll see you on May 6th for String A Jazz at the Barnard Amphitheater on Augusta University Somerville campus.
Available at the National Theater box office online at augusta.universitytickets.com.
See you there.
Ever seen the Star Wars movie where you can lay a baby rubber and the walls are compact and the edges are crushed and no options? Help me go! And the lyrics themselves, it's kind of like that. Fox did. And even for as music with nowhere to go, sounds like a storytelling beat. Nah. The Jackson Music 1 on GCP.
From WNYC Studio, this is Freakonomics Radio. Here's your host, Stephen Butler.
So for ball players like Justin Humphreys and Noah Hall, quitting their athletic dream is a long, painful process. Steve Levitt, he's my Freakonomics friend and co-author, an economist at the University of Chicago, he advocates quitting fast.
I try to talk my grad students into quitting all the time.
Quitting grad school?
Quitting grad school, yeah. A lot of people, you make choices without a lot of information, and then you get new information. And quitting is often the right thing to do. I try to talk my kids into quitting soccer or baseball. I mean, I've never had any training in quitting. I quit economic theory, quit macroeconomics. I've pretty much quit everything that I'm bad at. You do have this mantra, fail fast, fail quickly. Yeah, exactly. So, if I were to say one of the single most important explanations for how I managed to succeed against all odds in this field of economics, it was by being a quitter. That ever since the beginning, my mantra has been fail quickly. If I started with 100 ideas, I'm lucky if 2 or 3 of those ideas will ever turn into academic papers. One of my great skills as an economist has been to recognize the need to fail quickly.
jet sail, I get ready to take off. Yeah. Pull it up. They're headed this way, Hal. They probably did the same thing we did. I just missed the damn turn down there. I know you did. Where the hell Hal kicking at, dude? We went on the scenic route. That's all right. That's what it was. That was the scenic route, wasn't it? I see the sign there. It said scenic route. Yeah, see that historic area. Yeah. That door is still running. Yeah. Well, we're done for another year. Done for another year. Yeah. Everybody got their feet blessed. Yeah, really? I bet I ran over $10 worth of candy out there. I tell you what, yeah, and then that limousine was zigzagging. Oh, God. You saw the gas on that limousine. Yeah. By a flow. Somebody had to run out there and tell him, come on, let's go. He come from a long way back. He passed up about Darien.